Coming up this week on Talk with Audrey, Manhattan's Community Board 9 and their Health and Environment Committee reached out to me to help them raise awareness, dispel myths, and foster a supportive community for those affected by sickle cell disease. The Health and Environment Committee plays a vital role in monitoring and addressing the social determinants of health within the community to nurture a healthier, more equitable West Harlem. As a resident of New York City and the community of Harlem, coupled with my commitment to provide information every week to help people improve the quality of their life, I've presented on this show and my radio show interviews with sickle cell experts. Thus far, you've met Dr. Cheryl Mensah, assistant professor and co-chair of the Sickle Cell Research Work Group, and a hematology and oncology specialist at Northwell Hofstra Zucker School of Medicine and attending at Phelps Memorial Hospital. Dr. Susanna Curtis, assistant professor of medicine at the Icahn School of Medicine and the assistant director of the adult sickle cell program at Mount Sinai Hospital. Joining me this week is the last in this three-part series, Montez Davidson, diagnosed with sickle cell when she was just 8 years old, graciously shares what it's like to live with sickle cell disease, and her daughter and advocate, Kasara Davidson. It's all coming up this week on Talk with Audrey, insightful, intelligent, and inspiring conversations and information to help you improve the quality of your life. It's all about the business of living. I'll be right back. You're watching Talk with Audrey. Welcome back. According to the National Institutes of Health's National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, sickle cell disease is the most common form of an inherited blood disorder. It affects more than 100,000 people in the United States and 20 million people worldwide. Joining me now, Montez Davidson. She shares her journey as a sickle cell patient and her daughter and advocate, Kasara Davidson. Welcome.
Hi, Audrey. Hi, Audrey. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Montez, how old were you when you were diagnosed with sickle cell, and how were you diagnosed?
I was 8 years old when I was diagnosed with sickle cell. And it was because they could not treat a pneumonia I had. So they tested my family.
And what were those results?
And they came out with my mother had sickle cell S trait, and my father had sickle cell C trait. So I'm a sickle cell SC. I could have been a sickle cell SS, but I'm a sickle cell SC.
Tell us about your journey with sickle cell. As you mentioned, you were diagnosed at 8 years old, and you've lived past the life expectancy of most people with sickle cell.
Yes, they did say 16, 21, 30. I'm still here, and I'm blessed. And I think that's why I'm still here, because I had love and good doctors. I changed my lifestyle. I changed my eating. And I did a lot of things I shouldn't do, but I had a good life. I went to college. I went to college. I had children. I was not supposed to have children. If I had them, they were not supposed to live, or I was not supposed to live. I had 4 C-sections, but I have 4 girls that I gave birth to, and my husband had a daughter already, so I have 5 daughters.
We spoke earlier, Montez, and you shared with me that handsome gentleman right behind you is your late husband. He was a doctor who also believed that in addition to traditional medicine, treating the whole person through, among other options like diet and acupuncture, were equally important to enhancing the quality of your life. Do you attribute your longevity to the changes he helped you make in your diet?
Yes. Now, I had started changing my diet before him, but and that was one of the reasons we kind of clicked also. But he was more into it. So acupuncture, massage, exercise, all herbs from different countries we traveled a lot and got herbs from different countries and made teas. And part of the business became making and selling herbal teas for different illnesses.
And sunshine and salt water. Right, Mommy?
Sunshine and water.
Salt
water.
Salt water.
Salt water, yes. Jamaica was the place we had to go at least once a year.
Montez, you've had numerous health challenges because of sickle cell. Would you share some of those with us?
Before I made it out of college, I had an eye bleed or an eye hemorrhage. I was lucky enough to be at Howard University and lucky enough to have a doctor there who was they were just starting using laser surgery for the eyes. So I had laser surgery at Howard University, and that's what saved my sight. My sight is not good now, but I can see to get around. I'm considered legally blind, and I still have eye treatments, but I am, once again, blessed. Sickle cell breaks down the red blood cells and makes them bigger. So it causes a lot of pain in different parts of your body and breaks down the bones in your body. So I've had a hip replacement. The bones in my shoulders are completely mush. I need another hip replacement. I've had crises of pain where I've been put in the hospital, and starting from about 12 to 13, I think, they would always question if I was coming to the hospital because I was in pain or because I was looking for drugs. Was I seeking drugs? And to this day, they still put that out there in one way or another. And I'm 71 years old.
Yes, I've heard other patients and specialists speak about the preconceived notions and challenges that some patients encounter that delay treatment when seeking care in an emergency room during a pain crisis. How do you handle emergency room visits?
When I go into the emergency room, my doctor usually calls down. Do they know I have sickle cell? Yes. But one of the crowns I think a sickle cell patient wears is that you are addicted to drugs.
What is it like when you're experiencing a pain crisis?
I don't even know if I could explain that. It's
You could tell the story of when the comparison to birth. That story to explain.
Okay. Yes. Having my first daughter, Kasara, who's here with me, I was in labor, regular labor, and then I was in the hospital and I had a GYN and I was in the room. And because of the pain I'm used to, and because labor pain comes and goes, I was not in any crisis in my head. And Kasara's head was just about to come out. The machine was going crazy. My GYN came in yelling and screaming at the people, "Don't you see the head? Don't you see the head?" And they're saying, "But she's not yelling. She's not screaming. She's not crying." And he said, I think he might have called them stupid and said, "Could you just deliver the baby, please?" And so I guess if you compare it to giving birth, it's 10 times worse.
I can't imagine that. Kasara, you've seen your mom in pain on numerous occasions in your life. How do you feel as a family member when your mother's in such agony?
Sorry, I didn't imagine I'd be emotional. There's a helplessness because there's nothing that I can actually do, and I'm a doer. And so I like to find the solution, but there is no solution. And so I feel helpless. but I also know that how I was raised and the love that I was given, that and the patience and the faith that I was given, and the fact that she's still here and that I'm here, that it means that she will get through it. I mean, if I stub my toe, I need to go and sit down and take a nap. That's, that's my level of of pain tolerance. So I really do feel it's difficult for me, and that translates into a lot of different reactions and emotions. And there's a learning curve, of course, in terms of assisting someone who has a chronic illness and allowing them to have their autonomy, or not allowing, but enabling them to have their autonomy and not trying to just do everything for them. My mom's still here because she didn't listen to people who said she couldn't do. So I watch her in pain and want to do everything and want to tell her, just be quiet, let me just do this, let me find this, let me find that. But had that been the life that she had led up until now, she wouldn't be here. She's here because she pushed herself. She's here because she allowed the pain to be a part of her life. She didn't run away from it. My grandmother wouldn't allow her to run away from it.
Yes, my mother kept me home until I was in tears with pain before she would take me to the hospital. And she said that was the only way I was going to make it through this. So having a mother like that, I took dance classes. I took exercise classes. I had ambulances come and get me from dance classes. So once again, I've been blessed and I've lived a full life.
People who haven't been through it, it's unimaginable. But what I've learned in speaking with you both is that it takes a great deal of love and support. Kasara, you and your sisters have lived with knowing that your mother might pass at any time.
Kasara came home and saved my life the year after her father died. She was in her last year of law school, I believe. I was in a coma. She came in and had me transferred from one hospital to another where her uncle was. And then she left and went back and finished law school. And I had friends that came and sat with me. I was not waking up. The doctor said I had a brain bleed. And all they could do was wait to see if my brain would be able to absorb the blood that had been let out in it.
It was during it was a couple of weeks before I graduated from law school. My father passed my second year in law school, 2006, and I graduated in 2007, and I got a call that my mom was not going to make it. And I'd never received a call like that before. Her friends were crying and were holding back tears, and they said, you need to come home. And I came home and I looked at her, and she was tired and she wanted to be with my dad. And so, but I said, absolutely not. And I was a fixer. And so I figured out what to do. And my sisters and I, we rallied and we got her into where my uncle was, and his hospital. And the story is that she was completely, not the story, she was completely out of it. But the fable, the tale is that once she heard, Pomp and Circumstance of my graduation, Oprah spoke at my graduation that year. When she heard the pomp and circumstance and just the crowd cheering, that's actually when she woke up.
But truthfully, during that time, I talked to Ronald, and I tried to convince him to let me stay with him. I never saw his face. I just saw the back of his head, and I kept saying, I want to stay with you. And he said, no, you have to go back. And 3 different times I said, please let me stay with you. And he said, no, you have to go back. And I went back on the day that Kasara was graduating.
And so my mom wasn't there, my dad wasn't there, but my sisters were there, my aunt was there, and it woke her up.
I've been speaking with Montez Davidson. She's sharing her journey as a sickle cell patient and her daughter and advocate, Kasara Davidson. We'll be right back after the break. Visit talkwithaudrey.com. You're watching Talk with Audrey. Welcome back. My guests are Montez Davidson. She was diagnosed with sickle cell when she was just 8 years old, and her daughter and advocate, Kasara Davidson. We've been talking about some of the challenges of living with sickle cell disease. Montez, what would you say to someone who doesn't have the same strength or faith that you have, who has sickle cell and is having difficulty living with sickle cell?
That you really do have to sit down by yourself and pray or meditate, and you have to find something to believe in that's not from this earth, because you're not going to find strength just in medicine or just in doctors. They're there and they're fantastic, but you have to have a belief in something that you can turn to when the pain makes you want to leave. And so now that they're getting all kinds of new medicines and new systems for sickle cell, hopefully it won't be an orphan drug for much longer. And the young people, the children and the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds will be able to have access to all of the new treatments that are out there and have a belief in themselves that they can do whatever they want to do.
Kasara, what advice would you give to family members out there who are trying to care for their loved one living with sickle cell?
To have patience, to be able to step up outside of yourself, and to step outside of yourself in the way that my mom has said, in terms of a higher power, a higher being, so that you're not wallowing in this idea of why me, why my parent, why my sister, why my brother, that you understand that there is a reason that maybe we don't understand why right now, and to draw strength from that. And then to also, again, patience, because it's called an orphan disease, which I hate that term, but it sums it up quite well. No one takes care of it. It's one of many. And so not to treat your family member just the opposite. To treat your family member, especially when they're going through the crisis, as loved, and something that I've had to really figure out, and the learning curve is to not take personally the things that come up when someone's in extreme pain. So I say to my mom all the time, this is how I figured it out, that in movies and TV, when people are having babies, they allow women, right, in life to say whatever they need to say, to punch people, to say, I hate my husband, to do whatever because the pain's so bad. And the sickle cell pain, my mom says 100, it's probably 1,000 times worse. I'm not exaggerating. And so, because the red blood cells, you need that for your body to have oxygen. And if your body's not receiving the oxygen because the red blood cells are not moving, then that part of your body is literally dying and you're alive feeling it. So what people will say and what they will do and what will happen when they're in that much pain is not them. And so have the grace to give them grace when they're going through what they're going through.
Kasara, you've been part of your mom's journey for a very long time. What would you say to your mom?
I have been a part of my mom's journey for a very long time. And I think that our journeys are an ex-boyfriend of mine called me proof of concept. And we laugh about that because that means that, my 3 sisters after me, she knew then that it was possible. But with me, not only maybe did she think it was not possible, she was told that it was not possible. She was told to abort me. And I remember the day my dad told me that, and we had that conversation. And my mom has told me that when I was inside of her, there were moments, maybe right before I was born or a couple of months before I was born, where I was very quiet and they couldn't find me inside of her because I was so quiet. And I think we were working together. Like, I was raised to believe that you choose your parents, that you choose the people that you have in your life before you come here. And we chose each other. And so we're in this together, not in the sense that it's my burden or she's my burden or that I'll stop my life for her. That's a big thing that she has, but she's my mom. She's my mom, and she risked her entire life. All women do to have kids, but she really risked her entire life for me to be here. And I knew that inside of her. I remember things, not inside of her, but I remember things very young. And so, I don't know, I just feel like we're in this together. And we fight. We're mother and daughter. We fight. We do all those things.
Yes, we do.
But we are in this together. And I just want her to know that, and that it's not a burden.
And
it's not a burden to me.
All my daughters are like that. But I also wanted them to have lives of their own. So Kasara is a lawyer and in love, and Lenara is married and has 2 children and works at Columbia University. And Amara is finishing her internship in medicine at Mount Sinai. And the youngest one is in California. She wants to be a performer, a singer. And they all have beautiful voices. And they all were in the choir of St. John the Divine from 5th grade till they graduated.
And she wants us to have our own lives. And so what I say to her is that me spending my life with her is a part of my life. And I want her to, at some point, accept that and realize that it's not a burden for me, that I signed up for this before I came here. We made an agreement before I was born.
I like that.
You two are incredible. Montez and Kasara, thank you both for joining me. Montez, for sharing such intimate details of your journey, and Kasara, let me thank you for being a very strong and knowledgeable advocate for your mother in this journey.
Thank you,
Audrey.